Hello guys, gals, non-binary pals, and waterfowls. It's me, Big Mike, and today I'm coming at you with my mailbag video, number 1. And maybe you're like, but Big Mike, didn't you do a mailbag video before? Actually, no, this is my first time doing one. I've done a Q&A video before, but this is meant to be different. So here I ask for people to send me fan mail, hate mail, questions, and for them to share their opinions on various topics with me, and I would give my opinion on said subject as well, even if said subject had nothing to do with anything I've ever talked about before. And my Q&A videos were always done in celebration of something, whereas this is done just to do it. However, like those videos, this video is also going to be mostly unscripted. With the exception of the questions, everything I'm saying is going to be off the top of my head. So if it feels kind of loose, that's why. And one last thing before we jump into the messages. I'm not sure what I'm going to put up in the background. Probably some kind of gameplay footage, but I'm not sure exactly what. But whatever it is, I hope you enjoy it. Our first message comes from Cascoons. He writes, "Hello Mike, here's a question for your video. What piece of content that you made do you think best represents you? What encapsulates Big Mike the most?" And this is a very, very interesting question. One I had to take a lot of time to think about. Now, I am going to cheat a little bit here and give you free answers, but I'm going to explain to you why I'm going to give you free answers here. Now, maybe this is apparent somewhat on my Twitter, but I tend to joke around mostly on my Twitter, though occasionally I do talk about some serious shit there. So I'm not sure how much it really shines through, but I do tend to have two very different sides of me. I have a very, very serious Big Mike side that many people who haven't followed me for a while probably aren't aware of. And then I also have that lighthearted, like the joke, post memes, usually of a questionable nature on Twitter. And that's the side most people are probably more aware of. I'm going to give you an answer that kind of captures each of these sides, hence 2 videos. And I'm also going to give you a bonus one that captures more my IRL self. Now, there's not too much of a difference between my IRL self and who I am on YouTube and on Twitter, but there is some difference, and I will give you a video for that as well. Now, for my serious side, I think there's probably no video that does a better job at capturing it than my UAPs and nuclear sites and illustrative history video. Now, in that video, I had to do a great deal of research on a very heavy topic, and after looking at the history, I had to look at the why all of that was going on from very different perspectives. So it made me, it's a good example of how I try to approach such topics. I try to look at them from various angles, even angles I don't necessarily agree with. And then I try to cut away the bullshit where I can. Now, fun little bonus fact about Big Mike. My handling of such subjects, of such heavy topics like AI or UAPs, were very much inspired by how AJ of the Waterfowls handles such topics. He'll present a story, and then after the story, he'll cut away the bullshit, the stuff that can be explained away, but then he'll say what can't be explained away with such topics. And he'll do this, he'll try to approach these things in a very balanced manner. And I'm not 100% perfect in that, but that's kind of what I aim to do, and he was my inspiration for taking that approach. So I think that video perfectly encapsulates who I am as a serious person. Now, for my more lighter side, my more fun-loving side, I would say my freeloader gaming video on Sage. That was an amazingly fun video to make, and one I was extremely passionate about. Sage, or Sonic Amateur Game Expo, is my favorite gaming event of the year, and it has a very special place in my heart as it influenced me, or at least partly influenced me to become a YouTuber. And it also introduced me to the world of indie games. So it has a very special place in my heart. Well, and all of that's on top of my love for Sonic fan games and hacks as well. But anyway, it has a very special place in my heart. So that was a very, very fun video for me to make. And it's one, actually probably my first one I ever tried to not just present information, but be quite creative in how I present it as well. And lastly, the video I feel like that best represents me IRL is definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, my episode of Coffee with Big Mike featuring Dr. Canada, who is one of my best friends from my university time and someone I've actually worked with on my very first film project. He was my assistant director as well as one of my producers. And also, he was an actor as well. He did a phenomenal job acting in that project too. But we talk about a movie called Clerks Free, and I'm a huge fan of the Clerks series. I'm a huge fan of Kevin Smith, his View Askew Universe movies. And so we talked about that. And we also talked about, film in general, including some very interesting B movies. And Dr. Canada actually was the one to introduce me to the world of B movies for the most part. He was definitely the one to introduce me to things like loosely exploitation movies. Very, very, very fun conversation to have, but also it's one I feel like that I talk really a lot about who I am off screen, off camera. And so if you were looking for a video that encapsulates that, that's a great video there. And thank you so much for your question, Cascoon. And guys, gals, non-binary pals, and waterfowls, please be sure to give Cass a follow. He is a fantastic VTuber. You would not be disappointed, fam. Our next message comes from Magellan, who I like to call Mags. So Mags writes, favorite food to cook yourself? Do you follow a recipe from the internet? Something passed down to you? Or do you just follow whatever's on the packaging? Now this is an interesting question. I'll give you two things I like to cook. And I'll do this because my most favorite thing to cook, I cook very rarely. So maybe once every couple of years at this point. And there's something else that I cook that I do cook a bit more commonly, I would say. But it's really interesting that you mention follow whatever's on the packaging, because when it comes to making my own food, I tend to go my own way. But whenever I'm making something, from a box, I tend to follow directions very meticulously. So if it says for example to use a spoon of salt, I'm going to measure out a spoon of salt. And this is very different from my wife or my mom, who, they'll just grab some and throw it in there. They really don't measure it. I try to be a very scientific cooker, if that makes sense. I try to take things in a very scientific manner. Now, when it comes to the dishes I like to cook myself, the one that I mentioned, I only make very rarely, and that's chili. I absolutely love making chili. And I have my own recipe that I kind of experimented with. And I kind of made it myself. And it's changed over the years. Like when I first started making it in the United States, for example, I used to use canned Rotel. Already made Rotel that you could buy in the store in a can. And for those who don't know what Rotel is a Tex-Mex type of food or type of dish that's canned chilies and tomatoes with cilantro, if I'm not mistaken, but I might be mistaken about the last part. And it's used in a lot of Tex-Mex cooking, like chili, for example. And now, since I've moved to Southeast Asia, I can't really find that here, so I make my own. The second thing is that my ingredients have been tweaked somewhat over the years. So the very first time I made chili, I put in a green curry paste as well as some cilantro. And it was okay. It was okay. However, as time progressed, I moved to I got rid of the green curry paste and added a sweet chili sauce instead. In the United States, I think we call this like a sweet Korean sauce. However, in places like Southeast Asia, they refer to this as sauce Bangkok or Bangkok sauce. It's a sweet Thai chili sauce. I like to eat my chili over rice with some Jiffy cornbread. If I have any left over, I like to use it on my hot dogs, or like to make maybe like a sloppy joe with it. My wife, however, she loves to eat it on the top of spaghetti noodles. When I first started cooking it, I started making it with imitation hamburger meat because I was a vegetarian. However, now I use actual hamburger, actual ground beef. Also, sometimes I'll add ground chicken in there as well, especially during times when ground beef is very expensive. Now, the dish that I make that's more common, that I love cooking, is called eggs in a basket, or egg houses. And I actually learned this from one of my cousins. However, I tweaked his recipe a bit. So, for those who don't know what egg houses or eggs in a basket are, so you take a piece of bread out, you take a piece of like sandwich bread, and you cut the middle out, and then you'll open an egg inside of it, and you let it cook like that. Now, my cousin, when he made it, he liked to put cheese on it. However, in my opinion, that's one of the few foods where actually adding cheese to it kind of takes away from it. And so I kind of tweaked it from that. Also, I like to add some Creole seasoning to it too. And oh man, fam, I love me some Creole seasoning. I will add that to anything. Ooh, actually, just thinking about all of this, man, makes me hungry. So, thank you so much for your message, Mags. And Mags is a phenomenal dude, all around awesome guy, and VTuber too. So please give him a follow as well. My next message comes from TheTsarKhan, and he writes, "Faults on the quantification of media? I believe this represents an unfortunate shift in how videos, music, and art in general is meant to be viewed. I feel like it's a shift to where people are meant to look at this as something to be consumed and not valued in and of itself. And a lot of this feels soulless. And unfortunately, I feel like all of this is really just setting the stage for AI to come and take over such endeavors. I'll give you a good example of this. As I'm sure you probably know this, YouTube is a great example of how this is playing out. Oftentimes, I feel like content's made just to make content. It doesn't matter if it's good content or if it's bad content, but it's made just to be made. And good content is often dated content. And what I mean by dated content, I mean it's something covering a news story, covering a drama, something you can watch today or tomorrow or next week, but 6 months from now, it's no longer going to be relevant, except for just a marker in history, as opposed to more evergreen content. And on the other hand, I feel like oftentimes stuff is just thrown together just to get something out there. And in the past, there were YouTube channels that were ran by groups like Watch Mojo, for example. Watch Mojo is a great example of this. But they churn out videos very fast. And this was in pre-AI days too, when they did this. But there are other channels who follow this same sort of thing and this same sort of model, and their content, their quality isn't so good. Sometimes they'll even rip other content off when they do it. But the really big issue here is that such content really conditions people to kind of get used to accepting this type of thing, as such videos are very easy to be background noise, as opposed to something that's actively enjoyed, that you learn something from, that you remember watching a week from now, 2 weeks from now, a month from now, a year from now. A lot of this type of, I'm trying to move away from saying content, because I feel like, it's a very depersonalizing term, but it's old habits die hard. But anyway, I feel like this content that's coming out now is very forgettable. Very, very forgettable. And unfortunately, this all is setting the stage for AI to come and replace it. And many AI farms do exist today. This is notoriously bad in the astronomy YouTube sphere. Many AI farms pump out videos several times a day. And they don't care about facts. They don't care if they get, their facts wrong and such. They just want to put out content to be consumed. And unfortunately, as AI technology improves, with things like OpenAI Sora becoming widely available, I fear this is going to only get worse. I feel like the proliferation of such types of videos and content is only going to get worse. Now, one saving grace here is that YouTube has stepped in and has introduced some anti-AI features, or some features that allow AI content to be readily identified so you can avoid watching it if you don't want to watch it. I'm not sure how effective that's going to be, as it's still very new, but I do feel like we are heading in that direction. And I feel like this quantification of media has kind of set the stage, or have made conditions right for this to take place. And as a history fan, I'm sure you can probably appreciate, how all of this goes down. Big changes in history rarely happen, or never happen, in a vacuum. Like the first two world wars, for example, very great example of that. And I feel like this shift to AI content is going to be one of those types of situations where something previously has happened to lead to that, or to make it more palatable. And I feel like this quantification of media is that, unfortunately. Thank you so much for your message, Czar. Czar is a phenomenal VTuber. He's my favorite streamer. He's a really cool dude, and he has a very special place in my heart. So please give him a follow. My next message comes from TriorityN Interactive Novels, and they write, do you think Epic have any chance of winning their lawsuit against Valve? Honestly, fam, I can't really call it, honestly. I can't really call it. And in such a difficult situation, it's very difficult because we don't have all the information that those involved with the case will. They have access to discovery, for example, and so they have access to emails and documents of all sorts. So without that information, it's really hard to say. So unfortunately, I don't have a lot to talk about here. But still, I want to thank you very much for your message. And Triority is a phenomenal visual novelist. So please give him a follow. You would not be disappointed in their work, fam. My next message comes from somebody called Allison Pajammies. And she says, nice cock, bro. Well, I'm not sure how you knew that, but I appreciate the compliment. My next message comes from ChrundleN. What is something you wish you knew before going into making videos? So I'll mention two things here, and these are both things that I still don't know now. The first is I want to know a better way of doing audio editing. My audio editing, it's okay, I guess, but it takes a very long time. It's very time consuming, unlike video editing. And I feel like, though I can't prove, that somebody with better knowledge could do something much better, much faster than when I'm able to do it. So for kind of context here, when I record a full episode of Coffee with Big Mike, it tends to be somewhere in the neighborhood between 30 minutes to 2 hours. And if it's anything an hour to 2 hours, it's going to take all my free time from Monday to Friday within a given week to edit that. So, but I feel like somebody who knew what they were doing, they could do it faster. So that's one thing I wish I knew going into this. And second is the skills, or maybe not skills, but maybe steps or tips onto writing multiple projects at once. Now, I am good at multitasking when it comes to working. Like, for example, I know I can only record on certain days of the week. So that's why I only release videos on certain days of the week, because those days happen to fit with my recording availability. However,
I know I can't record on other days, so I'll do other things on those days, like writing, for example, or editing, or networking, or something of that nature. But I haven't quite worked out yet how to write more than one project at once. And that's something I really wish I knew going into this, and it's something I wish I knew now, as it would make, my life much easier. But thank you so much, ChrundleN, for your message. And ChrundleN is a phenomenal dude, and he's also a damn good VTuber. So please give him a follow. And my final two messages come from Lootmoth. The first, he asks, if aliens are real and want to have relations with humans, would it be adulterous for a married man to bang an alien? And you know what? That's a fantastic question. And I would have to say it depends on their level of intelligence. If they have at or above human intelligence, I believe so. If they're below human intelligence or have animal-like intelligence, I think it would be something worse than adultery. And by worse than adultery, I mean people who love animals. And I don't mean love animals in the sense of being a dog or cat person. I mean loving animals in a Mr. Hands fashion. Though admittedly, it's going to be an interesting conversation to see future ethicists and philosophers to have. And I might very well be wrong about this. And the second question he asks, what are top 5 original Adult Swim shows? Now here by original, he means shows that originated with Adult Swim. So nothing that came from Fox like Family Guy, Futurama, King of the Hill, nothing anime related to. Number 5 is going to be Moral Oral. And I like it because of its religious nature. I studied philosophy and religion when I was in university, as well as growing up in the South, so I definitely appreciate the satire there. However, what I really like it is that it's an early animated dramedy. Something part drama, part comedy, similar to BoJack Horseman or Rick and Morty, but way before either of those series. And it's a very hard-hitting series, and I'd recommend anybody to give it a watch. Next would be Squidbillies. I absolutely love this. I love their characters here, and I love the depiction of Georgia. I have many good friends from Georgia, and I mean no disrespect, but it's just such an over-the-top satire of Georgia. It's hilarious. But I love the hats featured in that show. The hats are well worth the watch alone. Next would be Robot Chicken. I love Family Guy. I'm a huge fan of Family Guy, especially early Family Guy, when the cutaways had such a very unique feel to them. And essentially, Robot Chicken is nothing but cutaway gags. And I really do enjoy that. Next would be Harvey Birdman. I love me some Harvey Birdman, attorney at law. The characters there, but my favorite is Peter Potamus. Did you get that thing I sent you? And also I love Phil Saban's laugh. Ha ha ha! Ha ha ha! Ha ha! It's been a while since I've seen it. I love the parodies of Hanna-Barbera characters. And I feel like it's all around an amazing and well-written series. And last, and this definitely should not be any surprise to any of you guys who know me, my number 1 favorite show is, of course, Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Number 1 in the hood, G. And there are really so many reasons why that this show is my favorite. First, it's my comfort show. I absolutely love this. Secondly, I love the characters here. When I was a when I was a teenager, I liked Master Shake. I really loved Master Shake, and to a lesser extent Meatwad. But as I've gotten older, I really love Carl. Carl, he has to put up with a lot of shit, man. He has to put up with a metric ton of shit. And I love his reaction to everything. And the more I think about it, the more I think about maybe it's a good metaphor for life. You have Carl, he's kind of over there minding his own business, and despite his best efforts, he's always drugged into something he had no business being in, something he doesn't want any part of, and he usually gets horribly hurt or killed as a result. Really, I really love that aspect. Also, I love the other secondary characters as well. And honestly, Aqua Teen Hunger Force was one of the things that really turned me on to hip hop and rap when I was in high school. I never really got into it. I never really got into that genre when I was younger. But when I first saw the episode with MCP Pants, and I Want Candy stuck in my head, that led me into falling in love with the genre and to trying my hand at it, for better or for worse. And just lastly, I'm just a huge fan of absurdist comedy. Comedy that really doesn't really have a point to it. It doesn't really make sense, but it's there. Think Monty Python, for example. Of course, this is on a much more absurd level than Monty Python, I think. But anyway, Aqua Teen Hunger Force, not only #1 in the hood, G, but #1 in my heart, fam. Much like Loot Moth, #1 in my heart too, fam. Loot Moth is a phenomenal friend, someone I consider a close bro. And he's a damn good cartoonist too. You all should give him a follow. And with that, we're going to call it here, fam. Thank you so much for everybody who submitted. I really appreciate you all taking the time, and I appreciate you all for taking the time to watch this. And if somehow you made it through this video, I plan to do another one of these at some point in time in the future. I have no idea when. It's not going to be anytime too soon. So please feel free to send me a message, either in my DMs on Twitter, or you can send me a message to my email, or even my TriorityN. And at some point in time, we'll do this again. And with that out of the way, we'll call the video proper here, fam. Welcome back to another Big Mike Slate, the part of the video that's not really part of the video, where I'm all natural, unscripted Duck Daddy, baby. And this is also where I give you a look at things going on behind the scenes of my channel. So, one really big thing I just want to talk about here is that this is actually the last video you're going to hear a morning voice Mike for a very, very, very long time. So as of the recording of this is my last day, or my next to last day of my busy season. So I'm no longer going to have to wake up and record as soon as I wake up in the morning. And unfortunately, I only have certain times of the week I can record. And on certain days, I should say, I can record. And I try to record as soon as I wake up, because I try to avoid getting that dry mouth sound when I record. So I try to record as soon as possible. And the trade-off is, unfortunately, I'm gonna have morning voice, but it is what it is, fam. And this video probably felt a bit rough. I am gonna keep it 100% with you, fam. I have been up all night. I was up all night the past several nights. That's just kind of how things go the last week or so of my busy season. So, and I just really wanted to get this out here, because I probably won't be able to record it again. I won't be recording again, I should say, for another week or so, because I'm going on vacation. I'm going to relax. This is the time of the year. This is the only time of the year I get like a solid week off with nothing to do. I take a second week off later in the year, but that's for Sage, and Sage is a very intense, busy time for me. I'm playing 150 to 200 games or more within a time span of a week. So very different thing. But anyway, this vacation coming up is something I do every year. I'm gonna chill out, got me some snacks, got me some really good anime and some really good cartoons and a couple movies I want to watch, and I'm gonna be as unproductive as possible. So if you hear very little from me over the next week on Twitter, well, I don't even know why I'm saying this, because by the time this video comes out, I'm gonna be in the middle of my vacation. But if you haven't heard very much from me on Twitter lately, that's why. I'm enjoying my vacation, hopefully. And yeah. And I plan on coming back fresh, rejuvenated, and hoping to get back into the swing of things. Got a lot of games to cover. Got a lot of really cool things going on that I want to make videos about. And I look forward to, I look forward to being able to record again. Back to my normal amount of energy, full night of sleep, full cup of coffee, and ready to go at it, fam. And that's really it. That's really the only thing I really wanted to bring up here. This has been an interesting situation for me, as In previous years, I've just taken my busy season off. This year, I decided to stick around, and it's been kind of a mixed bag for me. You probably already seen, by the time this video has come out, you probably have already seen this on Twitter, because I plan to make a post about this. But it's been kind of a mixed bag for me. On the one hand, if you notice, my videos the past couple weeks have been a bit light in regards to subject matter. It's because I didn't really have the time to do a lot of in-depth research like I do with most of my videos. So most of my videos that came out during this period were mostly opinion based or fun, more lighter subjects, I should say. And unfortunately, it also takes me much longer. So in the span of a week, I can write 2 videos, edit and upload them. However, this time it took me almost a week to get one fully written. So yeah, it's a bit of a struggle. Now, on the other hand, what I really did enjoy about this is that it put me in a position where I have to plan out my videos. Still trying to get away from saying content. I have to plan out my videos ahead of time, and I do like that. I do like that to a certain extent. Now, because I cover breaking news, I'm not sure how much I'll be able to do this going forward, I should say. But it is something I would like to try, because one of the things that do kind of stress me out a bit is that trying to find a new topic for the next video. And so having some topics set up well in advance would really help me out a great deal. And so it's something I want to try to work on going forward. And like I said, I know these videos over the past couple weeks have been a bit rough, especially in regards to my voice. And I do appreciate you all sticking around, sticking it out with me. And yeah, things are going to be getting back to normal pretty soon when I come off my vacation. And I love you all so much. And with that out of the way, special thanks to Fran, who does a wonderful job of doing my art. She's actually told me, unfortunately, she's delayed her coming back to Twitter for a bit, but she is still coming back. But please give her a follow when she does come back. And also, please feel free to give her a commission. She is a phenomenal artist to work with. Not only is she very talented, but she also is just a really cool person. She has a great personality. She's very fun to work with, very easygoing, and she quite damn dependable as well. Special thanks to all of my friends on Twitter. I wouldn't be here without you all. And special thanks to all of you for watching this video. Please like this video if you like it. Dislike it if you dislike it. But if you do dislike it, please comment below and let me know why you dislike it, fam. I want to get better as a YouTuber. And you know what? Taking criticism can help me do that. But you know what? Even if you don't dislike this video, if you like it or maybe you feel neutral about it, please comment below still. I would love to hear from you. I really love when my viewers, leave me comments. If you like my content, please subscribe and turn your notifications on. And until next time, fam, remember, just be yourself and you'll be awesome. Peace out!